There comes a moment in your life where you realize you are no longer fully at home in the reality you've built. Yet you're not fully living the reality your soul dreams of. It's a strange, sacred space, a space of tension, of quiet friction, of knowing you were made for more, yet still waking up in the same patterns, the same environment, the same skin of your old self. This isn't failure. This isn't confusion. This is the quantum gap, the moment before the leap. And what you do here changes everything. You're not alone in this space. In fact, if you're here watching this video, you've already stepped into it. You felt the inner tug between the life you have and the life you feel was written in your soul before you ever arrived here. You've tasted glimpses of that future, maybe in dreams, in meditations, in the way your heart beats faster when you imagine it. And yet the question echoes, why does it still feel so far away? This is the paradox we rarely talk about, that the desire for expansion often begins in a place that feels like contraction, that before the breakthrough comes the breakdown, not in chaos, but in quiet dissonance. The habits that once comforted now feel suffocating. The conversations that once entertained now feel hollow. The version of you that once fit so well now feels like a costume that's 2 sizes too small. And here's the truth. This discomfort isn't something to fix. It's the beginning of your recalibration. Most people try to numb this space. They scroll, binge, distract. They convince themselves that maybe the dream was too much. Maybe it's safer to settle. But you didn't come here to settle. You came to leap. And not just metaphorically. You came to shift your entire vibrational identity to align with the reality that is already calling you. But to do that, you first have to understand the sacred power of this in between. This space is not the absence of clarity. It's the birthplace of alignment. And the tension you feel, that's energetic data. It's your soul showing you the misalignment between what you're doing and who you truly are. You're not stuck, you're stretching. And what you stretch into will depend entirely on what you choose to believe, feel, and become from this point forward. We've been taught that transformation happens with a bang, a dramatic event, a radical external change. But in quantum terms, transformation happens at the level of frequency. It happens when the observer shifts not just what they see, but how they see. It happens when you stop chasing the version of yourself you want to become and start embodying the frequency of that version. Now, so pause for a moment and ask yourself, who is the version of me that already lives the life I crave? How do they think? How do they breathe? What do they no longer tolerate? What do they magnetize with ease? That version is not a fantasy. In the quantum field, that version already exists. And the only reason you haven't collapsed into it is because the current you is still transmitting the signal of the past. This is not blame. This is your liberation. The gap between your current life and your dream life is not a void. It's a bridge. But the bridge is not outside of you. It's made of choices, beliefs, frequencies, moment-by-moment alignments. And right now, in this exact breath, you are either reinforcing the past or reaching into the future. Here's what most people miss. The quantum leap doesn't happen after everything aligns. It happens when you decide to align. The leap isn't something you plan, it's something you become. And becoming isn't loud, it's subtle. It's in the way you respond to discomfort, the way you hold your vision in the silence, the way you choose to believe before you see. So if you feel like you're floating between timelines, you are. And that's not a mistake. It's the edge of your evolution. You're not lost. You're being invited into coherence, into integrity, into a reality that already recognizes you, but needs you to recognize it first. Because here's the quantum secret. Your dream reality isn't just waiting for you. It's watching you, responding to every micro-choice, every energetic shift, every decision to honor your higher path. And the moment you choose to trust that this space between two worlds is not a punishment, but a portal, is the moment everything begins to change. Before the leap can happen, something has to die. Not your dreams. Not your light, but the outdated version of you that was built to survive, not to expand. And this is one of the most sacred and most misunderstood parts of any quantum shift, because letting go of an old identity isn't a mindset hack. It's a cellular transformation, and it often feels like loss. And because it is, your current reality is the echo of your current identity. The thoughts you think, the beliefs you carry, the emotions you cycle through each day, they're not random. They're a broadcast. And the version of you that created this reality did so with precision, even if unconsciously. It was built on stories, some inherited, some chosen, but all familiar. And now, for the leap to happen, those stories must dissolve. This is the collapse. Not of your worth, not of your value, but of the energetic scaffolding that's been holding together a version of you that no longer aligns with where your soul is headed. It's the collapse of the survival self, the people pleaser, the overthinker, the Doubter, the one who needed certainty to feel safe. And when this collapse begins, it doesn't always feel empowering. It feels like being stripped down to your essence. Old habits suddenly feel hollow. Old friendships may begin to fade. You may feel disoriented, even lost. But this is not regression. It's a clearing. The quantum field doesn't respond to who you were. It responds to who you're being now. And you cannot create a new reality from the energy of your past. Let's ground this with science. In quantum mechanics, the act of observation collapses a wave of probabilities into a single reality. Your identity functions the same way when you constantly observe yourself as the one who struggles, the one who never follows through, the one who's too late, too much or not enough. You collapse into those same limited timelines over and over again. And here's the twist. The field doesn't know the difference between what you believe out of habit and what you believe out of truth. It just responds. So when your inner identity remains entangled with the frequency of fear, doubt, or scarcity, the outer world must reflect those distortions back to you, not to punish you, but to show you where you're still vibrating from the ask. So ask yourself with compassion, what part of me is still trying to earn love instead of embodying it? What version of me is clinging to control because they don't trust the unfolding? What behaviors am I justifying because they keep me safe, even if they keep me small? This is the spiritual surgery. The moment where honesty becomes the catalyst for elevation, because only when you recognize the patterns that no longer serve can you consciously collapse them. And that collapse isn't a moment of destruction. It's a sacred dismantling. It's the space where the old coding unravels so that something new can emerge. And here's the beauty of it all. You don't have to wait to feel ready. Readiness is a side effect of alignment. When you decide to release the identity that is tethered to your past, the field begins to respond instantly. Not because everything changes overnight, but because you have changed, and the field always mirrors the being, not the doing. Letting go is an energetic decision. It's when you stop identifying with the voice that says, I'm not there yet, and start acting from the voice that says, I've already begun. You don't need to force this shift. You need to feel it to surrender the narrative that says it's too late or too hard or too big for you, because your dream reality isn't waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to be true. To stop pretending you're not ready, to stop postponing your power, and to start aligning unapologetically with the version of yourself that already lives in the vibration of your next level. This is not ego. This is evolution. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is let the old version of yourself grieve, not because it was wrong, but because its time has passed. And as you honor that version with gratitude, you open space for a new energetic blueprint to emerge, a blueprint of freedom, of wholeness, of coherence. So if you're feeling the discomfort of release, the ache of inner reorganization, trust it. You are not falling apart. You are falling into alignment. And the collapse you're experiencing now is not an end. It's the beginning of the leap. Everything you experience is made of energy. Not metaphorically, literally, beneath matter, beneath form, beneath the story of your life, there's vibration. And that vibration interacts with a field, the quantum field, where every potential version of your reality already exists, not just theoretically, not just as imagination, but as real, measurable possibilities. In quantum mechanics, we call this the superposition, the idea that particles exist in multiple states at once until they are observed. The moment they're observed, the wave of infinite probabilities collapses into one specific reality. That act of collapsing is not passive, it's not neutral. It's determined by the observer, by consciousness. Now pause with that. If the universe at its most fundamental level is made of energy that responds to observation, then who you are being, what you are feeling, what you are expecting is actively shaping the reality that shows up in front of you. You're not a passive participant. You're the observer collapsing your life into form every single day. And this is where the spiritual merges with the scientific. When you see